What do you get when you cross
cannabis, inspiring people to be better, feel better, look better, enjoy football better, just do everything in their lives better every damn day of our wonderful lives. And our Sunday night show, brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. Muskox, a Detroit-based men's apparel company, creating. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Let's go!
Yeah, they're so good. I bought my father-in-law one, but I sent him the wrong size. So I have to get that rectified.
You rubed it.
I rubed it. Totally rubed it. Anyway, what's up, buddy? How's it going?
Little for our live
Came together. The defense looked like somewhat resembled like a defense, but you have to explain to me like I'm five, because I only know I saw that Peyton Thorne said that it was his call to throw that pass when Illinois had no timeouts, and you on third and whatever it was short, you throw the ball to stop the clock, and then so all of that game
of it. And also, I'll be honest with people, one of the downsides of the quick takes, I often don't fully grasp what's happening in the final moment of the game because I'm rewriting and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. It's not a great system, to be frank. Sometimes I look at my Twitter account, everybody's furious about something. I'm like, I fucking totally missed it. I have no clue what everybody's mad about. But I did see the end of the game, and because
should I change everything I've thought about Hazleton just because of that performance? I don't know yet, but
well,
I enjoyed watching the defense play.
When a team gets off the mat like that, when a team has a week like Michigan State went through, when you have that kind of suspensions, you have those sort of distractions, and a team shows up and performs the way they did, it speaks to player leadership. It speaks to a culture and a program at some point. But when you're in that game where the playoffs are on the line, or you're in the playoffs, or the Big Ten championship's on the line, what decisions are you going to make with the clock? What decisions are you going to make at the end? However, this is where I feel a little bit differently. When you are a 3-5 team, I don't mind you playing with a defense that, even though they're playing okay, has struggled at times. I don't mind you playing for the win.
Last thing you want to do is
stop the clock.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
But other than that, I liked the way that team came together with all the suspensions and the guys that had to move around positions and everything. And then with one drive at the end, it felt like it kind of just ruined the whole experience for me.
The question is, and Mel Tucker didn't really say anything after the game. He's not
timeouts, and you can run the clock down to whatever it was, 18, 20 seconds. It was just no scenario.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great, and I think that's something that is absolutely concerning.
But why can't Tucker talk about something like that? I understand if you don't want to get into every nuance.
I asked him about it.
Okay.
And I don't even – I mean, it's been a long day. I don't even remember what he said. But it wasn't all that whatever it is, I nodded. I do think I want to go back and watch it again. I just got home. One of the reasons we're doing the show so late is I woke up this morning in Illinois and wrote a bunch of basketball stuff, got on the road, and just got home. Like, I have not watched the game back. I have not watched the end of the game back. I don't have a firm grasp of – each clock moment like I usually do in situations. So before his press conference on Monday, I will do that. And there's a part of me that thinks this staff would be better off on the road recruiting all of December without any distraction of an upcoming game in Detroit or Phoenix or wherever they play the Duke's Mayo Bowl or whatever it is. Like, you're better off just focusing on roster construction than the extra practices. Team that was playing pretty well, that beat some pretty decent teams and beat some teams pretty handily. And you looked like the better team for most of that game. So I don't know. I thought that the response to that in a moment where people are paying attention to what's going to happen to this program that people are questioning, I thought that was far more important than the ramifications of the win in terms.
In his post-game press conference, Brett Bielema was a little bit testy about the players for Michigan State.
No tempo as much. Now they also set a record for injuries.
Listen to that guy laughing.
Came back with two. Everybody came back from all those injuries. So that was a little frustrating, but it's the game. That's the way it's played. That's what it is.
I think it does happen a little bit. And by the way, Graham, here's a question. Settle a bet for me because we had this discussion. Do you look at Brett Bielema and do you look at that as rock bottom weight-wise? Like if you looked at that, you'd be like, oh my God, I have to change my life.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because there are fatter people in this world, and
that wear parkas in a windstorm.
The problem is there are fewer people that carry the guy suspended is having a miserable year.
You choked.
You got your ass whooped at home.
Yeah.
You blew it. Just take your medicine, and that's not the response. Because ultimately, if you're the program that, like we had Jeremy Werner on last week talking about how well they were playing, talking about covering the spread. If you're the program that you're supposed to be the way you're playing,
I do think it's an issue in college sports, especially football and in the pros. You do see it, but again, how do you rectify it?
You can't.
And you don't use that as an excuse that you couldn't get your fucking offense going with Michigan State having 3 defensive players.
And those of us who watch soccer all the time, we see it all the time.
Oh.
I mean, so we're used to it. We don't think anything of it.
That's why people kind of hate soccer is the way those guys flop
And
around.
I was going to say, the thing they do in soccer is the ref. And they weren't the better team in certain ways yesterday, and they lost because of it. My third hot take. Sorry, second hot take. Third, what the hell am I doing here? Second hot take. MSU is going to feel the loss of Xavier Henderson. And I wrote about him today in my column. The way they feel the loss of Kenneth Ward, very different defense with him. The next man up thing totally works as long as he's on the field. All those guys that got suspended, not as important as him. Really doesn't matter who's on the field as long as Xavier Henderson's back there. I did think using a bunch of defensive tackles on the defensive ends against a team who wants to run as defensive ends to get your best lineman on the field when you had suspensions was smart. I thought that was a savvy move. Used, they don't go, uh-oh. And this, we saw a lot of confusion for a bunch of weeks this season, and we saw what that looks like. When he's out there, everything is calmer. He sees it. He can get them. They're shifting in and out of multiple defenses yesterday, and that's able to give offenses different looks. And that's Xavier Henderson. That's what he
passed the torch too. Is there anyone even in the possibility? Because like Kari Lewis, is that Kari Willis? Excuse me.
Yeah.
Jesus. He was that leader on defense, and like Xavier Henderson is, you need that guy. Now, who's the next person to step up and take that role? Who knows right now?
Well, yeah, and that's and one of the things you have to start to do is it doesn't have to be one guy. You don't want it to just be one guy. If I'm Mel Tucker, I'm sending Matt Ishbia a note. I'm sending some of these guys with the NIL money a note. That guy's worth paying NFL money next year to do one more.
Well, Ish is going to buy the Washington Commanders, so
and that'll become a whole different issue. We'll have to see how that actually works. What is your whatever hot take we're on here?
Crying and bitching at his teammates. So, with that being said, I usually go, why would you want to win these games? But I will say it was thoroughly enjoyable to watch Aaron Rodgers just cry and piss and moan. And their head coach, LaFleur.
I do enjoy people getting what's coming to them. And the way Aaron Rodgers has the last couple of years kept the Packers in the dark.
I'm cry about it.
Before I get to my third hot take, this is something I should have tweeted out early. And because we talk about theme days in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
The second that the Buffalo Bills lost the New York Jets today, just on my mind. All right, my third hot take. Michigan football might just pay for their non-conference schedule. They might. Like and as painful as it'll be for Michigan fans, it's going to be the best thing ever for college football. They didn't have Michigan above Clemson, I think it was, in the first one, just because of the non-conference schedule. So if you get to the end and you've got a one-loss Pac-12 champion out there, you've got a situation in the SEC where you've got one-loss Tennessee, that schedule drove me nuts. And the worst part is it didn't need to happen. Like, they're so good. Why do you play that schedule?
But why not? If you can get away with it and sneak into the college football playoff.
Again, they might not get away with it. And that'll be
there is that risk.
But that's the beauty of it. If they don't get away with it, the beauty of it is other teams never see. But that's just something to watch, because there are going to be, it looks like Georgia will be in, right? That's one team that's in. The winner of Ohio State, Michigan, going to be in. They're going to demolish whoever comes out of the West. That's going to be ridiculous, that game. And then you're going to have several teams for a couple more spots. And TCU, if they go undefeated, they're going to get in. What's going to change, obviously, is when we go to a 12-team playoff, it'll be a lot easier to punish a team for that. You could easily say, you know what, you might have belonged here, but you're not going to get the bye now because of the schedule you played, but you're still in the playoff. It's not quite as severe a consequence, right? But right now the consequence is severe, and I feel Michigan wins that argument. And what I'm saying is the close loss at Ohio State on the road ought to be like, well, look at this. This is a really good loss. And yet the committee's going to have another argument, and that's what I'm saying. Michigan may have put themselves in a spot where a close loss at Ohio State, which shouldn't be debilitating in that scenario, is going to be because of choices they made in their own schedule. It's assignment, and they'll take care of you there. They'll lead you on your cannabis journey as they have for myself and the Rube over here, the Joe Ingles of weed. All right, you want to dig into these listener hot takes?
Yes, sir. Eric Schultz up first. Number one, there is not a coach in America who has less of a clue in endgame management. Every question on Monday needs to be about that. It's indefensible for a high school coach, let alone.
And then Rutgers, we'll see how they bounce back after that good first half, all that energy. Things go awry against Michigan. Again, I don't think it's a gimme, but I would take MSU in it, and we'll see where Penn State's head are, where Penn State's head is. No, it's Eric puts the sort of mix of feelings about, which is a lot of what college football is, getting 19 to 22-year-olds to be focused, dialed in, and show up each week. This staff did something this week that deserves an awful lot of credit.
Dominic next. Number one, Jay Johnson called his best game this season by far. He was actually really good. 2, Michigan is likely to make the playoff with simply a competitive out.
I could feel it, and although it got a little dicey late, I could feel the live under seemed like a good play in that game.
Yeah, Dominic had money line.
Yeah, some other people did. You know, our friend Tyler, and I think he's got a tweet in here. Some people, you know, if you're in Illinois, you couldn't bet the game there, so he Venmo'd me.
Why? You can. It's legal.
You can't bet Illinois. You can bet Huckleberry. You know,
a $25 parlay.
Send it this way, and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app will help you out.
Oh, dumb. Maybe. Only one. Get a first down however you can. Don't worry about bleeding the clock a few seconds. That is not the Hopcat hot take of the day.
Don't get cute, is what she's saying. I mean, look.
She's saying
lost at Florida State when he was at Notre Dame, and it didn't work because they were called on a pick play or offensive pass interference. He held on to that play call for like 8 years, knowing it was a really good play call, and thinking they would not be called for the same pass interference there. And I think there would be a little more trust in it too. It's just the problem is they're making questionable decisions, and the play they go to doesn't work or hasn't worked. Again, I thought this play could have worked. I thought it was more on the players for not executing it.
Jonathan B. next. Number one, complaining about any aspect of this MSU win is silly. Don't rob your own joy. 2, there
plays like he did at Illinois. 2 smash patties with American cheese, bacon, a sunny side egg up, served on a pretzel bun with cosmic fries. And again, I bring this up all the time, carefully curated craft beer list from local partners, right? Feels like a local brew pub, regardless of which Hopcat location you're in. If you're in the one in East Lansing, Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, in
like the long ones. So.
But just a reminder, it's not a letter to the editor. You're just trying to get your point across quickly. So, if, you know, brevity is the soul of wit from Jonathan B. We appreciate you.
But the number one, though, I think that you can complain about the clock management at the end of the game. You can be happy with the win, but still be kind of like, okay, what was that about? Right?
It was Michigan State has risen to a level it is capable of beating against Wisconsin, Illinois. Xavier Henderson, Jaden Reed, Jacob Slade, they make that much of a difference. Michigan State is as good as Illinois. They're as good as Wisconsin. Their record may not be as good in certain ways because of those guys were out. Michigan State is not as good as Michigan. And Michigan, when they're able to turn it up this year, they can cause problems. And Michigan State's offensive line with that helped loosen some things up. And I thought the way they ran the ball and got and fired off the ball, I thought was as good as we've seen all year and something they should be proud of and was absolutely impressive.
Rydog 458. Number one, Graham, really enjoyed your piece on Xavier Henderson in the LSJ. I left it wondering, shouldn't the goal of the coaches moving forward to be
room out of college in Freeport, Illinois? Drink if you had Freeport in the first hour of the podcast. But
Dominic's hammered right now.
It was a great young group, unbelievable young group. And what was great about it is people would work there there were a few older people, but people would work there largely for 2 to 4 years. And when they left, get that. And that's going to take some recruiting classes and some other things, but that absolutely has to be a big component of what you are trying to develop and the type of kids you are looking for.
Jeff Shaper next. Just one take. Saturday's game was an argument for rethinking the Big Ten divisions and put on a full display of the massive gap between the two.
Yeah, competing for a Big Ten championship. And they're not a Big Ten championship caliber team. They're not a team that belongs in that game. And so I think, I've sort of turned on this a little bit too. I do believe getting rid of the divisions, creating some sort of different scheduling model is probably the best way to go, especially once you get the new USC and UCLA in there. It's time for a fresh start. But that's the next problem you try and tackle.
Curtis Cakeley next. Number one, at least once a game, Peyton Thorne comes off the field exasperated by a poor play call. You can almost hear him say, wait until my dad hears about this one. 2, Xavier Henderson has single-handedly saved Hazleton's job this season. And 3, having to leave the house after the start of the fourth quarter to attend a gala is at
carpet events. Like, it's usually like an LSJ thing, but technically we put down a red carpet, we vacuum it.
Counts.
It counts as the
LSJ gala.
The LSJ gala, things of that nature. I would love to have and I need to talk to Peyton Thorne's dad. He's had a busy year, but he's somebody I chat with from time to time, going back a ways. What? It's just
I'll give him a call.
They love that. They love that situation.
Kevin Cakeley next. Number one, Couch should make sure to have a stand-up walking desk in the den so he can work off enough of the groovy donuts to not look like Brett Bielema in a windblown jacket. 2, have to shout out Michael Donovan at a long snapper for having a clean day while you know what I mean? That was the weird part.
That's
good for him. Yay.
He did well. I give him credit. And by the way, if you're gonna look like Brett Bielema, first of all, windblown jacket, not the way to go. Muskox flannel, definitely the way to go. I'm telling you right now, it is one of those things that's slimming. Even my wife has mentioned it. She probably do. And there are lots of big and tall people. I don't want to knock Brett here too much.
I will. It's not healthy. It's not. You look at the guy, it's not healthy. You shouldn't be okay with it.
It's an unhealthy look. No
yeah,
question.
Yeah. You should be worried about him. Tyler next. There's just no way the Illinois kids were going to be 17 points better than the MSU kids. Shout out to Graham's Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app for cashing. Hey, no, you promised.
Not like every week, like 7 bets.
Don't screw the listener.
Like once a month, you have something you really like. You're in a state that doesn't allow for it, or you're in. You let me know.
You can't bet Illinois.
Yeah, you can't bet Illinois.
Who fucking made that rule? Like, who cares?
Illinois did. I don't know.
So dumb.
State senator or something. I don't know. Somebody did.
Assholes. Spartan Frank next. Only one take for me today. Love you, Frank.
Down there and beat the leader. Illinois is going to probably be in the Big Ten championship game still. And they went down there, and Illinois was ready to celebrate. You could tell. You could tell in that. I'm not saying all the press are fans, but you could just tell, like, that whole area thought they were going to win that game. Like, the mood at Illinois yesterday after that game was sort of like, what's the Rob Schneider gif? To see where it goes. Like Mark D'Antonio talked a lot about the Minnesota game in 2012 leading to everything that happened in 2013. But if 2013 doesn't go down the way it does, say they pick Andrew Maxwell even after that possession at Notre Dame and they go 7-5, then that win in Minnesota ain't much of a program win, even though it felt like it had the potential to be. All sorts of things. Or we were a little concerned about things, and all that stuff matters. And also I think it matters just the vibe in the locker room. It changes when you win a game like that, when everything is going against you. Practice this week, everything is just better.
Ricky Lombardi next.
So the answer is I don't know. Sorry. First half. If it happens only at the end of the first half, you sort of forget about it because the game ends with a win. But it's the lasting memory of the game. It's like, wait a sec, what? And so I understand why people feel that way. And it at the very least, it's a decision. And it's not the first time. I think that's the problem too. You get a rep for this, and sometimes it doesn't wind up defining your career.
Next, the clock and end of game management from Tucker has been some of the worst I've seen in Division I Power 5 football. It has been a constant theme in his tenure at State.
And it's something to watch because I think it reaches the point where if it continues, it becomes not just a viable concern and like, God, that's something to dread, but a little admitting when they kind of screw something up. It doesn't feel like you get that ever, right?
Well, Tucker did say he was a chicken shit coach, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, there's been moments like that. But after a game, you don't ever get that. Had to do that over again. Would have done that differently.
That's Dan Campbell.
You don't want too many Dan Campbells either, right? You don't want that. Yeah, right. You don't want it every week.
Barty and GL with one take. Notwithstanding a good win yesterday, the in-game coaching is seriously weak. Play at the end of the first half was slow and confused. At the end of the game, they took a delay penalty and then called a timeout, then threw the ball. Refused to use talented tight ends. WTF.
The lack of tight end usage, it was ridiculous on all accounts. It was a fluttering pass and a play that never should have been called. Like, how are you going to throw sort of a medium out pattern into that wind? And that's why I got picked off. But you use, like, the best pass of the game is Peyton Thorne into the wind to Jaden Reed while getting absolutely drilled. And they saw
the passing for the touchdown on third down, but I just don't get it.
If I get access to Jay Johnson this week, these will be the questions. That question will come up. It just, we're just not at practice. We get like one assistant coach most weeks, not every week. After the Michigan thing, we didn't last week too.
All right, Professor next. Number one, there are a few things in life more heartbreaking than the Hear Your Story link on Graham Couch's columns not being his voice, but rather a robot.
I will start to voice those. I didn't realize that. I didn't even know that was a thing till recently. But you can just you can listen to my columns, and I should do those. I just feel
how
like
many takes will that take though?
Quick Lane Bowl, don't hate it. There are years where the Quick Lane Bowl is like dreadful, but this isn't. Going to Detroit to play a game, I don't know. It is easy logistically. It's just there.
It's ass.
It's not great.
Yeah,
but it's. I don't know that this is a year where you complain about that. You know, getting to a bowl period was something. Now, and they'd love to have them. I mean, as
management reps in as possible. And I guess this is 3. Gulls, so close. Appreciate you guys.
Torquay United. It was my plus 1,000 bet, and today I get up. I'm working on some basketball stuff at the hotel. Got the Torquay United game on ESPN Plus, and they fall down 2-0 early in the second half. They're playing against a Derby County team that's a couple divisions up from them.
Yes. 2, this game showed that some of the younger players are more ready to play than the coaches thought, especially on defense and O-line. And 3, college refs are ass. Bonus. Shakira's hot.
Yeah, I'm a big Shakira fan. In college, we had in the dormitory. In the residence hall, whatever it's called.
It's low voice.
Kind of creepy. But we weren't like 40-year-old fat fucks like we are today. It was like we were like,
yeah, you're just 20-year-old fat fucks
no,
that are scary looking at her like a weirdo.
We were cool dudes in college. It's sort of something like that. Oh my God, I can't believe I told that story, which is almost a story we're telling, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington in downtown.
Oh man, you're the best. Where are we at? Oh, MSU 8 wins next. Only one here. I like what Scotty has done this past month, but I still think we should fire him and Jay and go pay big money for some NFL coordinators. Mel should have ties to someone good.
I have no idea what he's going to do at the end of this year. My gut, the way he talks about Hazleton, is it's struggling. You have to, if the trajectory of something is in the right direction, then what are you doing? And I think also when you start to see the impact of some of the guys who are out, and
but I think if you go back to last year and how the defense that bend don't break and some things from this year, if you go back and kind of refresh your memory after the season,
this is our problem right now. It gives you something to look for, and it changes the tone of how things are written, and they don't have those relationships right now, and so everybody goes in with, well, they should be fine, and they're not. And there's just not enough of depth of understanding of the roster right now, and that falls on guys like me too. There's no question about it.
Eric Gutchis next. Number 1, Izzo will never
have enough of Izzo, and I'm not saying they don't like each other. I think I think Bingham's a guy who will come back for years and years and years. I'm just saying at this stage it was time, and we'll see. I mean, all that Izzo's betting on some guys who are unproven. He's betting on his own way. He's betting on his development, his roster, his coaching. We're going to find all this out. There's no question at the end of this year if it doesn't work, and he knows it. Things pretty quick here, although I do think Jaden Akins sort of slowly getting back into things is it's a bad month for that. Like I think if he was 100%, they'd look different. And I don't think and it's not that he's not 100% healthy, but what I mean like that is they haven't been practicing with him that much. He hasn't been playing that much. Like he's going to be a little out of sync, and that's going to change a little bit of who. So if you want to be prepared for who Michigan State's facing, or you want to bet Michigan State or know when not to, really good podcast for that. Again, the Final Four is not on the schedule. You can go to tffinots.com for more, or and I know that's a podcast. You can just the Final Four is not on the schedule.com will also work. They'll have a contest.
Is the 80s Miami Hurricanes, the Raiders in the 70s, all hated and feared by opponents but loved by their fans. Like, fuck yeah, we are thugs and criminals, and we will come to your stadium and beat your ass. All right. 2, I can't celebrate this win until after they beat Rutgers next week. I've been on this ride before.
I don't think you want to be that team. First of all, it's tough for a black head coach and a certain talented level of player. You've got to land sort of all the Renegades if you're going to pull it off. But a few places have done it, and Nebraska did it in the 90s. Miami did it in the 80s. There are places that have had some, and sometimes they looked like, I don't know that all the Miami guys were bad dudes. They were party guys. And Nebraska had some legitimately bad dudes.
Better than last year.
Yeah.
Annie, number 1, had Henderson not gotten injured, MSU would only have 2 losses. 2, MSU basketball will lead the Big Ten in three-point shooting. And 3, despite many people's obsession with the younger options, Thorne is still the best option at quarterback.
He was certainly the best guy yesterday. It was hard to believe that a young guy could have come in and run the offense that efficiently in those conditions. Peyton Thorne called it could go a lot of ways this year. I think they'll be adequate, at least. But there's a chance that's a real strength. And if it is, that elevates a lot, right? If Joey Hauser is a good three-point shooter all year, like if he's pretty consistent and that forces big men to move away from the basket to defend him and opens things up. Tyson Walker was 47% last year as a three-point shooter. They could be a very difficult guard.
Chris, who is just trying to get by. Next. Number 1, Olasey in the last minute. Should have trusted Graham on Crystal Palace. 2, MSU doesn't suck.
So, my Crystal Palace bet cashed, by the way, the one I gave out on Friday or Thursday night. So it was plus 310 Crystal Palace, which turned out to be ass. So that didn't work out. But it was a fun weekend in Crystal Palace. Certainly added to that.
Nick Palmer. Jack Ebley needs to write another book and then narrate a 25-part podcast series on the MSU season.
I don't know if I'd listen to that. I don't know if
Are you having trouble sleeping, Nick? Try melatonin first.
Or Skymint, really. Skymint, you don't need Jack Ebling. What you need is Skymint. So I do think that I don't know how much depth they have. What I think is they don't have much difference between their starters and some of their backups as long as, again, you have a guy like Henderson and Slade. I think it's a game that speaks to maybe Jacoby Windman isn't as important as we thought. It was a game that I really thought using those defensive tackles on the edge and making it hard, like passing first downs in the 4 games before, I think it was like they averaged 17.3 a game they gave up or 17 a game they gave up, and now it's at 9.3. Like they're just not as vulnerable as they were, and I think a lot of that's Xavier Henderson. I think a lot of that's growth elsewhere. I think moving to the 4-3, but they did a bunch of different stuff. I think Hazelton's got these guys.
Steve, with every other political ad being about the world coming to an end, I miss the Liberty Mutual ads. I miss any ads other than these fucking political ads.
Well, you got a couple days. Is all you got.
I don't care, dude.
Tuesday,
it's
you're
been
good.
too much.
Tuesday, you're good.
Too much.
Yeah, it'll be. We've got.
I'm gonna spite vote.
I forgot about it. We actually have a podcast on election that gets in the way. So blame the Spartans.
But don't worry, Graham has podcasts for you to listen to.
Yeah, the Final Four is not on the schedule. We'll take care of you.
Sports Guy 1919. College football playoff rankings are BS, and those that say it'll play itself out are wrong too. The rankings absolutely matter for perceptions in determining bad loss versus golf.
They were the team that absolutely had an argument. They were the 5th team. If they get screwed again this year, I mean, just because they're TCU, that's bullshit. And so I can't wait for them to get to 12.
Jack Hakala. Let's fucking go, Astros, baby. World champs, say our names, losers and whiners.
I feel good for Astros fans. fun to see Verlander. It's a great
Still,
World
though.
Series, great postseason. Baseball needs to channel whatever they did this postseason. And although I do have to say, like, and I was covering and writing my own stuff and only got to see a little bit of it, but it was up against a lot of really good college football. And I'm not saying baseball should dodge college football. You can't dodge the NFL. You can't. But, man, it felt like, that's
You'll find in Michigan. Hopcat is proud to be an official sponsor of Peyton Thorne. Show your Spartan pride by ordering the iconic Peyton Thorne Burger, created by the man himself. There is no better place to watch any Michigan State game other than the 50-yard line at Spartan Stadium. Stop by any of our locations: East Lansing, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, and Holland. To plan your next reservation center, get comfortable this fall and winter with Muskox flannels. Learn more or order yours today at gomuskox.com.
When it's your moment, that once-in-a-lifetime moment, you don't just want jewelry. You can get that anywhere. You want a memory that will go down in history, your moment. We're Metawar.
Wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Wherever you are, Route 20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place.
Find Couch and a Rude podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite, Podcast Addict.
also makes you look svelte. And let me tell you that, for a guy like me, or if you're Brett Bielema, it pays off. All right, back to your hot takes.
Preston Zantello. Number one, Xavier Henderson for Heisman. Yes, this is an over-exaggeration, but I have never seen a more important player for a team. 2, if Jared Goff has a job next year, I'll be sad. And 3, I appreciate you guys.
How you impact your teammates and the players around you, I think is, he's 2 of the 3 turnovers they've created the last 3 weeks have been his. But beyond that, it's how the guys around him play when he's out there. So there's no question about it.
Spartan 18770. Number one, the fact that MSU's O-line played just as well without Jared Horse.
Jared Horse absence and not having the 15-yard penalty right off the gate. And I thought the line looked great. That's the group you want out there next week until they prove you otherwise. That's your line. And those are, again, I want to watch this game back before I have some definitive thoughts on different guys. And that's the one thing that kind of sucked about a busy weekend is I haven't had a chance to do that yet. So I don't anymore. Oh, that's fair.
Retire. Jay Port, next. Longtime listener, first time giving takes. Number one, Mel has got to figure out the time management stuff. Played with fire twice now, with yesterday in Wisconsin. 2, just feels like a massive win for the program. And 3, NFL gambling is hard.
It's the hardest. I don't think there's – it's fun, but you can't rely – you cannot win money doing this regularly. I don't know. You never have you?
No. God, no.
Yeah.
Kurt Wisniewski next. Number one, if Xavier Henderson doesn't make it to the NFL, hire him as MSU defensive coach immediately. 2, great win, and Jay Johnson still needs to be fired for his treacherous play calling. And 3, fickle as this sounds, this win keeps 2022 MSU.
Be on the sideline because of his injury. But it's different when you're actually in the game and you see it, and the guy next to you is able to turn around, or you're able to say this, and change whatever you're doing. Aaron Brule was really blunt about it. I mean, it just really makes a big difference for all the guys around him.
Jarrett next. Number one, Alabama would be having a similar.
But Michigan didn't look great in the first half against Rutgers. But
is it on the Big Ten Network? Because it will look like 1910.
Yeah,
with their amateur hour fucking graphics, and it looks like a goddamn college station. It's just pathetic. And the fact that they have the balls to ask for $9.99 a month for Plus.
Well, yeah,
they should
deliver more. Because here's the thing:
shit product.
The Big Ten Network, a great product. I subscribe to it intermittently because it's not a good product, and every once in a while I need it for my job. But if it was a great product, I would just have it year round. Like if you had, and if you put really, if you had like on demand, and maybe they do on demand, great old games or good analysis on it throughout the summer. Even maybe I won't in the summer. I'm not going to watch Big Ten Plus, but.
Big Ten West doesn't have a competitive problem. They just have an OSU problem. Take finally dead.
certainly dead this year, and the divisions are going to be gone. So I'm with you. I mean, this is an embarrassing year for the West. It's the worst it's been, and the East, has never had that. It's never had that year where everything's down, and somebody's always risen up. So
playoff. Congrats to the OSU Michigan loser, and 3 prayers to those on the SMU versus Houston under.
You see, it was like 77-63.
Wow,
regulation game too. Pretty amazing. Notre Dame's result against Clemson was impressive. LSU was got to give Brian Kelly credit. I mean, that
improvement. 2, Jay Johnson's best game this year. Not a coincidence that it was also the O-line's best. And 3, no coordinator changes will happen in the offseason. Bonus, the young O-lineman looked good, and I appreciated not having an automatic 15-yard penalty on the first drive.
Yeah, I'm gonna nestle into my muskox flannel, grab some
sensible realignment when USC plus UCLA join. And 3, MSU should never not play a 4-3 defensive scheme again.
They're probably going to get rid of divisions altogether. Would you just realign, or would you get rid of divisions?
I don't really like divisions unless you're going to – I don't know, but then you're just banking on these teams still being good how many years from now. I just think if you get rid of it, makes it more interesting.
4 divisions, and I don't know. Lots of different things to think about, but I think in the short term, you get rid of them.
Spartan Sugar next. Number 1, I'm thrilled with the win, but hate having to sweat the last minute. 2, I don't like to throw stones, but geez, Bielema has gotten huge. 3, it's pretty clear Graham's LSJ MSU basketball preview is designed to take pressure off its potential. Nike is standing against Kyrie Irving and not putting out the Kyrie 8. Are you out of your mind, Nike? Just sit back and shut the fuck up. You shouldn't be saying anything on any topic.
It's one of the first decent essays I ever wrote in my life was in college about Nike and sweatshops, and there's a 12-year-old somewhere in Bangladesh
it's a good bit.
Gambler, but somebody who has has something ready up their sleeve. It doesn't feel like that. Would you hire Hazleton back right now?
I don't know. With Sparty 99, I mean, you wouldn't have fired him after what you saw in the previous 4 weeks. I mean, come on.
But you
have to show some concern. And yes, hot seat Hazleton. It comes with the territory of making $1.5 million a year. Who cares?
About Nike. Oh, fuck, I forgot it now. Jesus, this is the worst. I must be tired. I had a really good point I was going to make about Nike. And it was funny or something. And it is totally lost. Anyway, we'll move on.
Call me Al. Number 1, a while back, I submitted a question suggesting Bielema
come up at the urinal on their second date. She was thinking, this guy's an ass. So, you can be an ass and yet still wind up being a good dude that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
It's true. Kyle, number 1, go Torquay. Torquay. I have a really, really cool sanitary
here, and they want to pay Tucker, and they're worried about what was going to happen. When people see mismanagement and they see a program just make silly mistakes and do weird things, they remember the John L. Smith era. So I think that's part of the interesting experience with being an MSU head coach is you're dealing with a fan base that's been hit with a lot of different things.
Gideon, just a take for Graham. Shout out to Iowa Key.
Free Ubers.
All right, yeah. Oh, it's a city based in Japan. It's a Japanese league. Okay, that makes sense. I should have known that. That makes sense. J and yeah. I don't know why I didn't. I should have looked up. Again, usually I just got off the road, got home, immediately started doing the hot take. So I didn't have
MSU team, especially the line players, can't stay healthy and will make the next 2 games interesting.
To Matt's first point, and it's just grammatical edits that were needed there, but it's a good take though. It is interesting that he has not lost really close games yet. That's what's been. I mean, he's made some baffling decisions. It hasn't cost him. They've been flattened and hammered by some people.
Going to be in the Hall of Fame, but
yeah, seems like a decent dude. I don't know that he is, but he comes across as one.
Yeah, I was watching the post game, and he seemed like he was a good guy.
Yeah.
Jeff Oswald, number 1, Scotty Hazleton saved his job yesterday. 2, Jared Goff is the Lions' answer of quarterback.
What, Jeff?
Well, they're hot takes.
Yeah.
3, MSU won in spite of Mel Tucker, not because of him. And bonus, surely miss Xavier Henderson on that defense next year.
By the way, if you're going to a college hockey game, a little bit of a cold arena, muskox, high-quality flannels are for you. And don't just take it from me. Lots of reviews on their site, including this one, like from William. I have never endorsed a product before, regardless of how impressed I am with it. This shirt has changed that forever. It's a fantastic product. You won't be sorry with the purchase.
You don't even run a tempo offense, idiot. 2, on the plane, Tucker read James Franklin's free ebook, Managing the Clock, at the end of the game. And 3, Steven Izzo scores his first collegiate points tomorrow night, and bonus. Made my first ever bet, taking MSU to win the conference outright with 11-1 odds. That's too good to pass up.
It's not a bad play. There are about 7 teams that have a chance to win the Big Ten.
Back for aircraft carrier game with a potentially sketchy court. And 3, maybe this MSU football team is okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You got to think about the whole year with Akins for sure. Like, you don't do anything early on, as frustrating as it may be, as much as he's needed on both ends of the court. First of all, these guys have been practicing without him for a month, so I don't think it'll be quite. I wouldn't rush him at all. You if he's ready, you play him. If he's not, you don't, and you don't push it beyond what he's ready to do.
DMB next. Number 1, most of the backups look competent, looking more and more like a coaching deficit than a talent issue. 2, we shouldn't attempt another field goal or extra point the rest of the season. And 3, boost.
Commit to the 2-point conversion. You just have to have good play. Like, Michigan State doesn't seem like a great short yardage team right now. That's the only problem with that philosophy. If you've got the plays to do it and you can execute them, I think you can do it at a more than 50% clip, and it's worth more than the extra point. But if you're just going to wind up chasing points if you're Michigan State right now.
Andrew Gauthier next. Number 1, Tucker is clearly
You can get there with a family of 4 a lot cheaper than you get to a MSU basketball or football game. It's one of the better bargains on campus.
Pat Caverly. Number 1, hopefully Mel Tucker takes some of his $95 million and goes to clock management school this summer. 2, that win speaks very highly of the players on this team as leaders. And 3, Rutgers is going to be a nail biter. Win against Illinois marks the start of a new chapter in the Mel Tucker era. It feels as if everything is back on track and the program is on the rise again. I can't believe how well this team responded to the adversity it faced in the previous week. Hell of a win. 2, I have to admit it was refreshing to hear someone talk about the MSU reporter being snarky and it not involving Graham. I'm proud of how
the World Series draws a lot of people. To second point, to your second point, the hot take, Gavin, I don't know to what you're referring to, a reporter being snarky and it not involving Graham. I do take pride in being snarky, but I don't know who you're talking about. Is this a Solari thing? Please inform me, because I would.
Desmond Howard blamed Solari for not stopping.
That's just not my.
I would have had my phone out and yelled "World Star." Hell yeah. John Crazier, number 1, I want the Lions to lose out now. Let's get Will Anderson and have bookend defensive ends. Best thing that can happen at this point for them. 2, getting friend zoned really takes a toll on a person after a while. And 3, first time in Bronner's yesterday, packed in like sardines.
I've been friend zoned several times, not surprisingly, in my
But
life.
how long did you let it happen, though?
Well, it was one of those things where you went in as
when you find out, you go to Bronner's and you go, oh, she just wants to be friends. I understand. But if you go and then keep trying, I mean, believe me, I was friend zoned without knowing it. I had to have it like hit in my face. I'm like, oh, she doesn't really, doesn't want to hug on the first date. And 3, Harbaugh got what he wanted out of the tunnel incident. MSU now looks like a horribly run, dirty program. See Beluga Burt's post-game comments about MSU faking injuries.
Yeah, I'm sure Harbaugh doesn't want MSU to look well, but I don't think MSU looks bad after this week. I think they look like a program that's got their shit together in terms of the way everybody responded. In the 90s, just couldn't beat Michigan.
Fart Soup next. Number 1, this version of the MSU defense stepped up and will be better without the suspended players, most of whom were transfers. 2, game management will prevent this staff from winning the Big Ten. And 3, Thanksgiving dinner at Brett Bielema's house is off the hook.
You
better get there before
developing. They constantly reevaluate that without question.
Woke Couch. Number 1, the response of rival fans and many local and national media figures to what happened last week and this season is revealing of a deeper-rooted racism and disdain for Tucker. Couldn't have handled the situation better, yet folks are making him out to be a criminal. 2, it also seems
that some of that's happened, then you have to take it seriously.
And you had to have police at his house. I mean,
I don't know everything that's going on now. We're still looking into that stuff, but because I don't want to just I know he had police at his radio show, but that's not a first. Like that's happened before, so I don't want to put that on the situation. I also don't want to
and ready to play, whistle blown. 2, stop sending the kicker on the field and just go for 2 every time. And 3, Burt might be the only coach MSU faces that doesn't realize that he can throw the ball at will versus this defense. Burt gave that game away.
So the bands were blasting music halfway into the play clock. That's fascinating. I didn't. You should. So I often don't sense those things. I don't have a great sense of what Michigan State's doing with that right now.
And by the way, Illinois, Burt did mess that game up though. If you're an Illinois fan, you're like, how in the fuck did we lose to that team? It's embarrassing. G.E. Miller, number 1. If Burt was MSU's coach, I'd be terrified for his health. That's no laughing matter. 2, I'm concerned that most of MSU's best players.
But they're going to be D'Antonio guys at this point. Like largely, look at the age of the roster, when D'Antonio left, how old. I mean, Tucker's first real recruiting class are true freshmen right now. And what should be concerning, and this is why I think next year is going to be a little rough, is, those 2020, 2021 classes, their performance.
Discipline penalties could be his downfall if he doesn't fix them. And 2, how Donovan Edwards is still playing after retweeting an anti-Semitic rhetoric is baffling to me. Appreciate you.
He should have been, to me, you don't need to ruin the kid's life for that, but you can have a lesson. Like, you can sit him a quarter. You can, whatever.
Goff is torturous to watch. Get him gone unless we draft Will Anderson. Jesus. 3, as a Michigan fan, I firmly believe Tuck is a better coach than Harbaugh at this point and will take MSU to the national level and give him 3 years. Not a shot in hell Harbaugh wins that Illinois game with the same roster, and Tuck has already proved he can win big games. Bonus.
Saying Mel Tucker isn't a better fit for Michigan State right now in this here and now, but I don't know that you go Tucker over Harbaugh based on what Tucker's done to this point. Maybe a year from now we'll say differently, or 2 years from now it'll be clear, and that's something that'll be an easier case to make.
Cucker Tarleson, number 1. Graham. The best British name ever.
Yeah, love that name. Plays for Chelsea. Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Great name. I've thought about when we have children naming the kid Loftus-Cheek. It's a great Ruben Loftus, although it's a last name, but still, I love that name, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Yeah, no, the Susie Merchant thing's embarrassing. I was much bigger than I am now, and had gained an awful lot of weight. And I look like this fat oaf. I'm like, good God, how did you not leave my ass? And how do you not say anything? Like, hey, let's have a few more salads. Let's do that.
David Witcher, number 1. MSU's offense had some great plays, but overall was bad enough to lose them the game if the defense didn't step up. Can't let Johnson and Thorne off the hook yet. And 2, felt great to beat Aaron. Whiff. There weren't many worse than the Illini one. Appreciate the gift. And 3, time for Behringer to start kicking field goals, as in drop kick.
You don't see that very often. Yeah, that kick by the Illini punter where he just missed the ball looked like me in the 1992 pass and kick competition here in Lansing. That was pretty remarkable to see for a Division I punter. That's the thing that's going to get. Michigan State has this moment yesterday, and I think there's going to be more stuff this week that comes out either from the Big Ten or the investigation, and so that story doesn't go away. Like the Michigan State game isn't really over, and Jamon Green situation and certainly what happens to those
have become another Clemson. D'Antonio Foundation with stronger recruiting and modernization.
Yeah, I mean, you can't complain about what D'Antonio had though, but yeah, certainly there were moments if D'Antonio had left after 2017 and things don't dip completely, I think and it's probably behind the Michigan game last year, I would say. And how much of the quick takes change? I don't want to say I was panicked, but at a certain point I committed to MSU winning. And once I commit to that, I do not want to change the quick takes. Things go very poorly, very quickly for me, and I don't handle it well.
So I actually don't mind talking to them. So I would be talking to the neighbor, even if he's annoying. Like, hey, man, depends on when you come over.
This does sound annoying. My 10-year-old son's overly hyper and enthusiastic basketball coach calls him pep talks. Ugh. That sounds like another 10 milligrams are needed.
Guy that takes that seriously, X's and O's. Gregory McCracken with just 1. Up version of an MSU player in a prison uniform hit me hard. Maybe I would have reveled if it was not wearing the colors of my alum, but he is, and this is an awakening.
I think next year there is going to be, there are going to be assholes, and there are going to be jackasses, and there are going to be trolls, and they're still out there, and they'll always be out there, and there are going to be people that are triggered, and there are going to be good people that are upset with a lot of things. Max Spade, all up next. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Muskox high-quality flannels.
Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome source and double brush for softness. This will be the softest flannel you'll ever buy. Guaranteed. For every $100 purchase, Muskox will donate $10 to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Get comfortable this fall and winter with Muskox flannels. Learn more or order yours today at gomuskox.com. Firekeepers Online Casino and
Affiliate and sponsorship information at our website, spotlightmediastudios.com.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, and our Sunday night show brought to you by our friends at Muskox high-quality flannels. Visit GoMusk.
Year. Bonus. Phenomenal coaching job at Kansas football this year. If you can win at football in Lawrence, Kansas, you can win anywhere in football, and maybe the best uniforms in college.
Anytime you win at Kansas, like if I'm Nebraska, if I'm any other program that's got more resources, a better place to sort of win consistently.
Yesterday, no way a Power 5 school should be this poor at long snapping and kicking short field goals. And 2, the most overrated stat is the completion percentage of quarterbacks like DeVito, who never throw deep. Of course, he's going to be accurate. Give me Thorne over that guy any day.
Yeah, I mean,
he didn't take their shit hand, and he called them out on it. We need more of that. Why aren't they ever held accountable for anything? And we always get dragged through the mud. I don't condone what our guys did at all, but sick of the one-sidedness. Rant over. Appreciate you guys. 2, next year's
be kind of separated from MSU's players, not Malik Carr, the Jamon Green's family member. So, I mean, I get it as a reaction. I mean, I you know, if anybody had a situation where they saw their own family member and what he saw, like getting your head bashed in with a helmet, and you're ticked at the other team, that's the response. It wasn't anybody specific he was going after, from what I understand. But again, I think there will be some detail.
People, I was a felon as he wiped popcorn dust on his shirt. Michigan was better. 3, people that realize on Hot Take 3 that they asked questions are ass, just like Illinois fans. Hello, I'm ass this week. Also, Denny's is way better than IHOP and would be even better if they brought back the jalapeno bacon. F the Illini.
That sucks. If you got your
2, well, there goes the 5 NFL draft spots. Nice job, Lions.
There will be a point in this season where it's time not to. The problem is, the Lions aren't going to tank. Dan Campbell's coaching for his job. This whole situation is.
He's not coaching for his job. They already said that he's coming back no matter what.
Did they say that?
Yeah.
When did they say that?
Sheila Hamp Ford came out and said that they're going to be back next year. No matter.
I would do if Michigan State football wins the Big Ten next year. I will do another man bra thing here.
Yay!
Which doesn't help anybody. It doesn't serve me well. Didn't do anything. But you're on number 1. You're definitely right. You saw it coming, and they're not quite going to get to. I guess they could get to 7 wins still, but yeah, you were on that for sure. I think there are interesting conversations beyond that. What is it automatically his gig next year? I don't know that's fair to the other guys. So I think the conversations after this year will change.
Paul E. Show next. Well, then I get excited. I'm like JoJo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet. Mel Tucker, when asked about his late game management.
I don't really.
Okay, question and hot take of the day. Is it based on topic? Fuck that word. I'm done. That's the rest of his.
Yeah, we don't have the. Yeah, it's basically if you pander to me, no. If you hit a nerve, you just want to do that.
You'll never win, no. After number 3, Ken Chu. That.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
Someone with 2 followers. Dark Mantonio, number one, your hot take call-out tweet that always mentions a Lions victory is the reason the Lions keep losing. 2, Donovan Edwards is going to be a handful for the rest of the Big Ten. 3, Michigan may be a bit lackluster in the red zone by setting up for field.
And I really thought he was going to be good at Michigan, and he still may be all right. I think Miami's just having a rough year.
Bo McJunkins, number one, MSU will beat Penn State to finish the season 7-5. 2, I guess the program isn't spiraling out of control like some lazy national sports writers think. Looking at you, Wetzel. Normally, like his work, but that was bad. 3, Bielema.
This year, 7-5, which would mean winning their final 4 games.
Yeah.
I think people would feel strangely good about things.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be tolerated.
Not long term, but I think
Right.
people would be strangely good in the short term.
Kirk Cousins chains next. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers ass. One of the worst games of his career against this defense.
And frankly, if I were as Jacob Slayton and Xavier Henderson, I would throw the overall trajectory and the just sort of the change midseason of the entire defense on my NFL tape. This is my impact on a roster. This is what I can do for you in the locker room.
PMCK. Number 1, MSU and Michigan football programs and coaches need to meet and agree to.
Before, so it gets even more interesting. Are there some guys you mix in? Do you mix them in on special teams? Those become sort of secondary storylines too.
Some dude next. Number 1, I love it when Graham puts the eggs in Xavier. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be hard Z, sound like the one in chorizo. 2, speaking of yes, he's really good.
Kids, I'm taking you out. Doesn't matter if you're Mike Tyson or Scott Bell. You don't have a chance against me. I don't want to fight to the death, though. That sounds bad. That sounds very Hunger Games-ish, and would make me nervous.
Sunshine Spartan, number 1. Mel Tucker had his team ready for Illinois. In past years, this would have been a 20-point loss. 2, I'm sure why Aaron Rodgers is mad. He threw the interception here. And my first bonus take, Aaron Andrews is not aging well.
That's kind of mean. Well, none of us are aging that well. I mean,
No, she is. I saw her today. I think she's annoying. She looks great for her age. I don't know. Not a fan. Mike Scott, number 1. Outside of 2.5 teams, the Big Ten stinks. Very nice win, though, for MSU fan base. He's good. He needs better play calling and guidance. 2, MSU was absolutely feigning injuries, and I'm okay with that. Football is a head game. And 3, if MSU becomes bowl eligible or wins out, Graham has a good story.
What's the story? It is a good. There are elements to this season that are a good story, and certainly what Michigan State did.
It was just a fight, but it looked horrible, like Graham said, and that's because it wasn't a one-on-one fight. Multiple players on one. Even if they all don't hit him, it's still a bad look. 3, funny how 2 different fan bases see a 20-point outcome. MSU fans say the D held Michigan down. The offense didn't show up, and had they shown up, maybe we could have won.
Could have been in that game and was in it for a while. Was in it for a half. And but you're right. It is interesting to see how. But it's like that in everything, right? It's like that in politics. It's like that you can see the same damn thing and see it very differently.
Jason with an E. Number 1, disagree on your take regarding Jay Johnson. I'm no OC. It seems his play calling is vanilla, unimaginative, and times to slow the pace of the game. At the same time, he has not seen the mass of players on the Michigan State sideline dealing with injuries. Either way, bad look for him.
Yeah, so I do think that, I don't know what the record is, but it's different. I think it was, I forget who early on, was Annie or somebody said that, there's 2 more wins.
Illinois. I have 16 hot takes. Here are 4 of them. 1, the tunnel fight was very John L. Smith. 2, MSU's poor special teams, besides Behringer, is very John L. Smith. 3, randomly beating a ranked team while having a shitty season is very, very John L. Smith. And 4, I like beating up stuffed animals.
As long as you keep the stuffed animals.
To Dusty Baker for finally getting a World Series ring and the Houston Astros. I was only able to watch a few games during the Fall Classic, and the World Series doesn't seem the same without Joe Buck on the call. 3, I understand that losing pledges while they're committed is the nature of the beast, but Tucker and company have some damage control to do with the 2023.
Very, very interesting next couple months for Tucker.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, finally. Number 1, college officiating has a bias problem, and it's the same that the media has. Brand's more important than reality. 2, Vegas knows Michigan fans are arrogant suckers and steals their money as a result. And 3, it's not a Bobby Lane curse, it's a Ford family curse.
We appreciate you guys producing our show. We appreciate Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com, and you can purchase a flannel for $15 off.